I'm gonna I'm gonna wait a bit and see if there's anybody popping in before I start. Um, gonna go and look at some stuff on the other window while I wait. Maybe give it another minute or so. Hey, good morning, Donald. Okay, I guess it's good time as any to start. So, guess I'll show this off first. So basically, what I've done is I finished the new XY joiner yesterday. Um, and basically, the idea is that the belt's now routed to the back of the carriage, leaving the front face open for the extruder and the hot end. Um, the It took a little longer than I thought, and this is with the 12 millimeter carriage, mainly because I wanted to make sure that I try to stay as centered as possible on the linear rail carriage itself, but yet give me enough space to run these extra pulleys I need to reroute the belt. So um, this is what I came up with, and it works. It works pretty well from the design. Um, we have all the pulleys on one end and the actual carriage rail mount on the other. I'll have closer picture for you to show you guys later. Um, it's printing right now over here the XY joiner. Um, I can show you guys. It comes with the base piece like this. That basically solves the problem I was having before, where um, the the four holes, these four, um, the four holes were overlapping the holes I need, the other four holes that I needed to mount um, the XY joiner. So what this does is basically effectively adapts that by mounting this first. I will have four holes that gets nut traps that will allow me to mount the other piece to it. I'll show you guys in the design here. Um, this one. So there's there's two distinct bodies. So this is the piece I was just showing you guys that was printed. Um, these four holes here are interfacing to the carriage itself. Um, and then once that's mounted, those are countersunk holes, so they will be flush with the surface. Once those are mounted, the other four holes are meant to mount this top piece, which I call the attachment piece. So the attachment piece is actually the one that has all the intricate details in it, where the rail goes into this hole, and the pulleys are using the same mounting system as the idler. So um, the reason why this wall is so much thicker too is because there's a through hole here and here that will allow it to mount to the base unit here. So um, it also allow the other thing is that it also allow me to print them in two separate pieces and orient them so that it's minimal amount of supports right now I'm testing out a print that is not using supports, but you could see um, the rail holder is bridged. So I'm hoping that it comes out okay. That doesn't need the support. So that way I could orient it differently. Because if you imagine this being one piece, the only logical way to orient this would have been straight up and down like this, and then I also have to worry about the other two mounting holes, like these two. That's right now the X-ray showing these two holes here. I would have to make a through hole to get to those two bolts to mount them onto the carriage. So it it was like a it was causing a lot of issues. So I just thought, you know what, let's split the base from the attachment piece and then print them separately. The other nice thing about this is that hopefully there's enough space here. I'm hoping that I could put the 2020 rail hole there so that basically the base stays the same, but the attachment piece will have be slightly altered to allow for the 2020. If you guys want to use a 2020 rail instead of a 12 millimeter rail to go into that as well. So the idea is the belts. Let me have a better picture of this. This one is a better picture. So this is I'm working on the belt mount right now for the carriage. So this, if I could get a good orientation, because this the way I got this modeled is not really that good. So that's a good orientation. So the belt will mount onto the actual this is what I call the belt mount. So we're actually mounted on the belt mount with the teeth facing inwards. Doesn't matter if it's coming or going. Let's see if I can put the other belt on. There you go. So this one, the belt would come straight into the pulley and go up, while this one will go from the bottom up to the pulley and around the pulley onto the surface here. So I think I show it better here. There you go. So see, one belt goes around this pulley to the motor. This one, after making the whole trip around the whole perimeter, comes back and makes this turn onto the belt holder. So the way let's see if I get rid of these so I can show you better. This 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 this. Okay, that shows it better. So that one, the belt comes around the pulley and onto the belt holder. This belt goes around this pulley and onto the belt holder. So they get oriented the same direction once they go past these two pulleys. Depending on which one you use, it will orient it correctly. So on the other side of this, I would have to put the bottom pulley on this side and the top pulley on this side so that it would flip the orientation of the belt coming the other way. So this piece, oh, and there's a third through hole for the third mount, but unfortunately, because these shelves are in the way, I couldn't make this thick wall. So and it would make it very awkward to try to get those pulleys in there with the pillar in the way. So basically, this is a straight 3 millimeter hole that you would just use a regular button head to mount the fourth hole. It should be still strong enough with the three through bolts to hold down the three corners, and just with short one to hold down this corner because it's not much stress over here anyway. So that should work fine. I don't foresee an issue. I mean, the other choice is that I can make this a pillar and then make then but then that makes it hard to get these pulleys in there because I had an older design where it had a pillar there, and trying to get the pulleys in there is almost impossible. So I just kind of gave up on that idea. So let's go back to here. So this one, um, fairly easy to do right now. What I got so far is um, these belts are referenced to where they need to be in relation to the pulleys, and then after I reference where they need to be, I did a combined operation. So this one here, combined operation between the um, the belt holder and the belt itself. I think it's a, if I remember correctly, it's a cut operation. So with the cut operation, what it did is it actually removed the difference. So it removed the belt profile from the belt holder, so it leaves this nice indentation for the belt to grip onto once it gets printed. Not that did that. I wanted I wanted a way to um, bolt the belt holder onto the belt mount. So normally, I mean, this is the one. Show the so do I have the other piece though? Yeah. So this is like a really ancient old design. I think you guys remember this one. So the way that belt holder worked was we got a piece like this is a cross with the belt profile on it, and the idea was that it would get mounted on like this, and it would grip the belt. Um, and I sort of made it symmetrical because you know that just makes it look nice. It's like that. Okay, really gotta solve that problem. I think when on my way out today, I'm gonna go pick up a new Ethernet cable. So I don't know how far we got, but I was saying the belt clip with the old carriage adapter um, was basically going to hold the belt in that direction, and it was symmetrical because it just made it look nicer. But the problem is that if we did that with this setup, where these holes are going to be in the middle of the belt holder, like the belt holder here, then it would make this all one row. And I thought that it wouldn't be as strong if it's all one row, um, mainly because then the stress point on that whole belt holder is in one line. So what I did was I offset them slightly so that they are not causing a stress in one particular part of the belt holder itself. So it's the same on the other side where I offset them. So there's basically they're in different corners so that it wouldn't put too much stress on one spot, like I said, and it just makes it look a little neater with the offsetting of the poles. So the next thing I was going to work on was basically the get rid of this. Yeah, there you go. So there's nut traps on the bottom. So the idea is going to be that I just have to make uh, a belt hole, like a flat piece that will be bolted on through these two holes, and it's going to clamp the belt onto the belt holder. Um, so that belt has about 15 millimeter of grip on the belt holder itself. So I think that should be more than enough um, contact surface. If not, I'll move it in another 5 millimeters, so that gets about 20 millimeter on either side. Because I really have a lot of real estate back here. I want to leave it for other things that we might need on here, like maybe um, the probe or a wire harness holder, whatever it is. So if I could, I just kind of make it as minimal as possible, and also then the belt clamp. Doesn't have to be as big either. So I'm kind of gonna leave that until I actually get it on the machine and try it out. See which one works better. I had to add a little bit of height here because the nut was really at the edge of this belt holder. So I added about 2 millimeter of height on there. So if I put the QWE by, you see that it kind of overlaps, like it goes past the bottom of the carriage itself, because otherwise I would, you could see right there that that's where the nut trap would have ended if I kept the same size as the carriage. So I had to add 2 millimeters so I get a bit of more meat on there for the nut trap to work. So that was another issue that we were facing before. Let me put this back actually. So now with that out of the way, I had an issue before where this rail and this rail basically overlaps where the belt needs to be. So instead of trying to put the carriage mount right at the edge, I'm gonna go and put it in the middle area here. It's gonna be a countersunk because this whole piece is 7 millimeters thick. So I'm gonna countersunk the M3 bolts, 4 of them in the middle, so that that's where we're gonna mount the belt. The belt holder is as close as possible to the edge. So basically, maybe right behind where the belt is, where the belt ends, and then have them countersunk so they're out of the way, and they're not. Do they do that only on one side? From what I read, you should adjust one side only, and the other side stays fixed. You mean the are you talking about the belt tension or the which one talk about, Donald? So I just saw that message pop up. So hi Roger. Oh yeah, the belt tensioning. Yeah, yeah, now that I have space on here, I'm tempted to put the belt tensioner back on. Yeah, so the belt tension is only gonna basically gonna be from one side. Like you're right, it's gonna be probably if I don't have a use for the rest of the space here, then I'm gonna put a belt tensioner on here. Um, One side is gonna be fixed, the other side is gonna be a belt tensioner, and probably some kind of sliding mechanism if I want to put it on a carriage. The other choice, like I mentioned in the last stream, was put it on the idler itself and have it so that it pushes out onto the um, onto the belt, so that it basically puts a, like a better word, puts a kink in the belt so that it makes it go a little further out before it comes back onto the idler. That will give you enough. That should give you enough adjustment. But I guess what my main concern right now is actually getting the movement first. If there's a bit of slack on the belt, I could deal with that in a bit. And this is easy enough to add into the design anyway. That I'm not really too worried about it. I mean, worst case is there's a little bit of slack on the belt and it moves a little funny, but I want to at least make it move in the next week or so, so that, or next few days actually, if that's the kind of goal, is to make it work in the next few days, just so that I can send the parts out to you and whoever else wants to test it, and actually prove out that movement first. The Having the belt tensioner on this back piece here would be nice, because then it's all in one place. I would just kind of fix, like I said, fix one side and then have a sliding block on the other. And I would just what I'll do is I'll probably end up just slotting these two holes so that it the and then put a square nut there so that it slides. The square nut slides back and forth in the groove, and then having a nut bolt that bolts through and pulls that block along. Well, pulls that block along, and adds tension to the belt. That will work as well. So, like I said, that doesn't take long to do if I had to do that afterwards. So, um, so far I'm happy with the progress. I mean, I think I'm getting back into the groove of things with the new workplace. I'm getting the hang of the public transit. So I'm getting back in a decent hour. The belt, the XY joiner and the belt mount should be done today. Once it prints, I put mounted on and try it out manually. The belt, the belt tension we'll deal with later. The belt mount and the belt clamps will be done today. I'll have the belt routing testing today, hopefully by the end of today. And if that works, then if I could turn the motors by hand and move the carriage and stuff like that, then I'll wire up the smoothie board and just see if I could actually kind of just make it move a bit. Um, there's going to be some changes anyway that I need to make um, to the XY joiner, I think, and I guess it depends on where I want to put the switches. I have to make end stop switch mount anyway, so um, it seems like everything is kind of like a circular reference, right? Like I have to make something work, get it in position, then figure out how everything else relates to that, and model those, and then sometimes those will cause a change back to these XY joiners. So is that's why I was some people asking me why I do it, try to do it by myself, and that's really the reasoning is that um, it might take a little longer, but it keeps the dependency checks easy for me. Like I'm the only one who needs to know where everything needs to go, and it's easy that way. Um, let's see. Um, I guess that there's a couple of things I want to cover. One, I guess we're done with this, so I'm gonna kind of move this out of the way. Um, so, in terms of the stream, I mean, I've been having a lot. I mean, I've been having a lot of streaming issues lately with the stream dropping out and stuff like that. So, what I'm gonna do is actually look into getting an actual dedicated cable. I think we talked about that last time. Is um, I only got one. Let me just bring this back here. Okay, let's bring this whole thing down. Um, the I've been having a lot of problem with the frame dropping in the stream, and so a couple of things I want to try out. One is actually getting a um, direct Ethernet cable from this location to the router back there. So that's going to be a cheap fix. I'm going to go pick that cable up today. It's like 30, 40 bucks or whatever it is for like 100 feet. I don't know. Like, I guess ordering online would be cheaper, but I just want to go and pick it up and just not deal with it. See if that solves the frame dropping issue. I guess the other thing I'm going to try is I'm going to replace that router. So I've been working with Culver on the chat with the PF Sense. So I have all these little Intel NUC. So let me bring up a picture of one. Yeah, I have a lot of these Intel NUCs laying around because I used to do a lot of I still do actually do a lot of messing around with clustering and stuff like that. So I have a lot of those little Intel NUCs laying around. So I'm just gonna grab one of those and stick a hard drive in there, like and some RAM, and use it as PF Sense router. So I've been playing with that, and it's pretty good. It's a very powerful piece of software, but the problem is that it's just hard to set up, and I've been having a little issue testing it out in VirtualBox. So hopefully it'll be fixed once I get the hang of it, and I'll stick the PF sense box where the router is and see if that is what's causing the dropping. Because I mean, I'm pushing 2800K a second. It's not a lot through the router, but it might just be old because I had that for a few years already. So gonna go and fix that up. Um, I guess I should talk about, like, the whole Facebook thing. So um, hang on. So yeah, I mean, I think now going to have more time now that Wolfgang decides that he's going to kick me out of that as a Haribo group. So not really surprised. I mean, I know he was looking at commercializing, monetizing um, that whole setup. And fact is that, like, he needs me out of there so that I wouldn't complain too much about his revisions. Um, yes. But I should thank him because that means I don't have to worry about that, and then don't have to really get get annoyed by the fact that all these little fillets. Oh, we're back. Okay, we dropped out again, so I'm back. So I was saying, I gotta thank Wolfgang that he kicked me out of the group so that I wouldn't have to worry about those little annoying messages and then zings that his minions been putting on. There's two things I want to cover though. One is that, like, I've been telling him that the whole point of the whole design and the whole point of the Haribo, one was to reuse as much parts as possible from your MK2. So that's why they didn't make any changes to the geometry of the print itself. The other one was that I needed a printer that would print fast, stable. That was two things, like fast and stable. So there was a lot of thought put into the parts, and a lot of the work that's done by MK2X, like Dave Tar, he put a lot of work into it. So I kind of just took it and moved on with it. Um, and made some improvements. The through bolt thing, the through bolt design, I think adds a lot of strength to the design itself, and it prints solid. I mean, I've been having people have been coming back telling me that they print 80, 90, 100 millimeter second with the big prints are not an issue. The smaller ones, like these little parts, you're still gonna have to go 40, 50 because they just don't have enough um, surface area for you to really gain that speed. So you might have a little bit artifacting, like this one still does a little bit, but I'm okay with that. These are test pieces, and they're not really meant to for like high quality. I mean, I'm okay with these printing. I'm more concerned about them going, um, are they geometrically correct, and then if they look a little bit ugly, I don't really care because I'm just using them for test fitting, right? So um, so he comes. Oh, okay. So I guess that dropped twice just there. So I was saying I just needed these pieces to print fast and geometrically correct so that I could test them on the design itself. I don't really need them to look pretty. I mean, they are acceptable quality. They're not showpieces. But the a little bit of tuning, if I could get these looking pretty good, but just didn't want to spend the time on that. Um, hmm. Dropping out more than I would like is the third time in like 5 minutes. Anyway, so um, yeah, so like, it's funny because like his response back about the recap, the things I said on the group was it has to kept the old geometry because it needed to reuse the MP2 ports, and the fact that it has to run fast and stable. So um, he comes back and says, like, um, his minion comes back and says, "Oh yeah, like, we there was no value in the Haribo. It wasn't. It didn't add any value to the MK2. and he said the Haribo was better because it added 10 centimeters to the height. And I said that was not what we wanted to do. That was not the design aspect of it. If you wanted to take the Haribo and enhance it by saying that it's 10 centimeters taller, great. You're free to do that. That's what open source is about. But the fact that coming back and telling me that the Haribo did nothing is sort of insulting to me and the group. The other thing is, he was trying to prove that prove that it didn't print faster. So his test was take a like the smallest thing he could think of printing. I don't know what it is, because I bet he was printing a Benchy or something, and crank the knob up to 200%. And he says it looked like crap. Well, yeah, of course it looks like crap because you didn't reslice it. You're supposed to go and tune your settings, and for the speed that you're gonna print it at, and for the capability of the machine. So turning it up 200% doesn't mean that it's going to print well at 80 millimeters a second. I mean, I specifically set the 80, 100, and 120 as the benchmarks, uh, because those are the points that if you tune it, you'll be great. Like you're going to have great prints with it, right? So turning up to 200 is not going to do it. I think he did that on purpose, just so that he would catch all those people who don't know any better, and they'll say, "Oh, it didn't do anything." Well, I think more than 50 people, I know we got 40 registered, but more than 50 people, I would even guess more than 100 people out there with the Haribo would beg to differ that they've been printing well beyond 60, 80, 100 and having no issues at all. So, anyway, so I want to show this one. This was done in um, Simplify 3D 4.0. Has absolutely like almost no issues with it. Like there's still this here where it does the layer shift, but otherwise, I mean, it came off the printer, just no issues at all with it. I've been having a lot of problems with this. This is eSign PLA, so I had problems with this before, but this has come out marvelously, and there's also in 75 millimeters a second. So him coming back saying there's absolutely no improvement on the prints, I think he's on drugs. Um, I think he just said that because he wanted to basically sell the main point of the Haribo, which is an extra 10 centimeter. But bad news for him. Like I think all of us know that once you get up that certain height, the moving bed is not going to scale. It gets to a certain point, and the inertia of the print will cause so much ripples that it doesn't scale. That's why I went with the cube, right? Because this moving bed doesn't scale up to past a certain point, and you're just basically trying to do it is gonna kill you. I mean, that there's a reason why like big printers like Gmax. I mean, like those ones they work, but then they don't print as fast. So you're gonna have you try to push 80 millimeter second on those long prints, it's not gonna work. You're not gonna have a good time. Anyway, I promise that's gonna be the last thing I'm gonna talk about until I announce the Haribo Cube. And I would say that once I announce the Haribo Cube, um, I'm gonna call them all. Basically, the reason why I'm gonna like this is the reason why it's not going to be open source is because of him. I don't want his Haribo Cube on my hands, so it's not going to be open source because he fucked it up. So that's it. Oh, and like I said, 4.0, Simplify 3D 4.0, the prints are much better than what I was getting with 3.0. Um, the support just snapped right off. There's actually no artifacting on the bottom of that there. This piece came off of here, and again, there's nothing artifacting on the bottom of that. Slightly, but not too much. It actually is right close by. It left some support there, which I just clip off, no big deal. But it was actually pretty nice. I'm happy with it. And the fact that it was a free upgrade. If you had Simplify 3D, it just made it that much better. So I'm happy with that 4.0 upgrade. Yeah, it seems to be dropping off more than it should. So let me just get back to the actual what we can show. So let's go shopping a bit since we are here anyway. Um, let's look at this. It was a Titan knockoff from Triangle Labs. Um, I'm gonna see if there's a way to. Um, I don't think so because the way it looks, we might have to make an adapter because basically what I want to do is mount this on the side of the carriage with this against the basically rotate the mounting so that is flush against the carriage, and then have the um, I guess kind of have the whole Titan turn sideways so that it would take up um, it would be sideways, and then the motor would be sideways because then I have all the real estate. I just because of the carriage, I can't put they cannot put the motor into the carriage, so that's gonna basically offset it out too much. So I want to rotate it 90 degrees so that the motor is perpendicular, yeah, perpendicular to the carriage. That's one way to do it. The other way is use an arrow. The arrow has the same issue. Is that um, I will need to rotate that mounting piece so that uh, it would face towards the carrot. So if neither one of those is going to rotate, because I don't think it does, I'm going to have to basically print a new mount so that it would rotate the whole assembly. Um, and again, still the same orientation. Have the Titan kind of or the arrow perpendicular to the carriage movement so that it would be offset. I don't have this issue worrying about the motor being in the way. So one of those two, I think I'm gonna pick up and try. I was kind of looking at this. It seems interesting because there's also a 3D what they call it BL touch sensor mount for this as well. So um, hmm. Yeah, so I was saying, I was looking at this one because it has a BL touch sensor mount. In addition to the fan mounts, and it looks like it's printed. So um, it would be interesting to see if I could use a BL Touch versus Proximity Probe because um, then people want to use glass or want to use some other material or some other heat bed. They don't have to worry about the sensing distance because it's a touch. It's actually a physical touch sensor. So we could go with something like that. Um, it's getting about 2 o'clock. So um, those are the three parts I'm looking at. Is the Titan or Titan Arrow or Titan Arrow with the BO Touch. So one of those three, I'll see if I can adapt it to work with the carriage. Um, so like I said, it's getting to 2 o'clock. So what I'm gonna do is actually probably take a step out of here, go buy the network cable, buy the parts I need to run PF Sense, and then um, probably see if I can fix this problem with the frame dropping. Um, hopefully it's not a big deal. See what happens from there. Let's see. I guess you guys can see my desktop. Let's go FaceTime here. So the just a recap, basically um, the the XY joiner is getting printed and going to test fit today. Going to look at different options for the extruder. First version is going to use the 12 millimeter carriage, just so that um, uh, to get off the ground. If we get it working, then maybe go with the 20 millimeter. But I have to get the 20 millimeter squared rod. I'll work on that. Simplify 3D works awesome. I think you guys will like it. 4.0 was a good upgrade. Um, see what else. The I'm gonna try to put the Titan or the Titan Arrow on the 12 millimeter carriage. Yeah. It might be a little heavy. I'm not sure. My other choice is to go with a Bolden. I think it would still work on the 12 millimeter carriage or the Titan is or the Arrow is got a pancake motor. It's not that heavy, so hoping it'll work. Not sure yet. We'll see. I mean, like I said, it's ways down the ways, anyways. I'm gonna have to look at how it works, and then I think I'm gonna place the order for it first anyway, because I'm gonna buy from E3D. I'm gonna basically get the E3D version of the Titan or the Titan Arrow and go from there. I think they have a upgrade package, so basically you buy the Titan and then you buy the Arrow upgrade. So I could buy both of those, and then depending on how I want to run, then I'll just use the one or the other. So what I'll do is I'm gonna go to check the. Give me a second. It seems like I'm just dropping out for some reason, and I kind of want to know why. Is but like I said, it's been a very old modem, so um, router, so I kind of expected it to have issues, but it's dropping out way more than I think it should. Well, looking at the memory and everything, it looks fine, so I guess I'll deal with that later. Um, yeah, so that's the thing. Like I think we were talking about that before, where um, we were concerned about the Bowden setup. So if I was able to get a decent size direct drive on there, then we don't have to worry about the Bowden and the flexible materials like that. I don't know if you guys see my strip, Mickey Mouse with headphones. Um, yeah, direct drive would be nice, and Volcano would be nice. So maybe we could go with that option. Um, the print's looking pretty good. I don't know about the orientation. Is it that's kind of making it the the layers is going to be vertical in reference to the whale. Um, if I print it the other way, where it's horizontal, the correct orientation as you use it, then basically those shelves is going to cause an issue. My other choice is to turn it. I guess that would work too. Is turn it with the back facing. I'll print it different ways to see which one works out better. But for testing, I don't really think the strength test really matters right now anyway. So um, yeah, I mean I have a few Bolden setup printers here, and I personally like a direct drive if I could get a direct drive on there. So if it doesn't cause too much stress on the 12 millimeter carriage, I'll probably do that. If it causes a little bit of flexing, then maybe we'd put the direct drive on a 20 millimeter and bolt it on 12. And with the 12 millimeter and with the E3D, that thing should be pretty screaming because like there's absolutely no weight on the carriage itself, so we should be able to kind of crank up the speed a bit. So I guess we could see from testing where we could go from there. Um, I really want to get this thing done. I mean, this is like the third or fourth time that we sort of kept going back to the drawing board and redoing it, but I guess that's a pitfall, right? Of doing a new design or like doing a design from scratch, right? Especially using stuff that nobody else is using, like the um, the the IGUS carriages and stuff like that. Nobody else is using those, so it's just kind of tough to kind of be the pioneering guy to try to get everything working, right? So hopefully, we'll learn our lessons and then we're gonna go and move on from there. Um, I know we keep pushing back the dates, but again, it is what it is. Not much I can do about it. Working as fast as I can, working as but still keeping in mind that I really want to make sure that it works the way we want it to, not just some you know just not just pushing it out the door. So hopefully you guys understand that. Um, and I'm gonna try to fix this frame dropping issue. So I'm heading out. I'll catch up with you guys in the chat. I think I got 96 subs right now. I'm not really looking for any sort of, um, I'm not looking to be like big with thousands of subscribers, but I think 100 is a good goalpost, I guess, to go past. Is getting 100 subs, and then hopefully those people find the info I present useful. And do you have any questions and stuff like that? I mean, I don't have to just cover the Haribo Cube on these sessions. Like I could, while I talk about other things, we can actually go and talk and get into different topics. So the default is that I'll give updates on the cube, but we go with that with different things too. I mean, if you guys want to have a look at the PF Sense stuff or the clustering stuff I do or anything else, just drop me a line. I'll cover those. Again, I switched back to filament.ca PLA, um, and I think that's the one of the issues is I have to sort of run the cleaning filament through it first because for whatever reason, it might be that the two materials are not, even though both are PLA, are not 100% compatible with each other. So the first few prints came out like shit. So I think I had to kind of run, if I switch brands, I had to kind of run through a few times with the cleaning filament, get all the old crap out before the newer stuff goes in. Otherwise, when there's a little bit of the old stuff left, it just messes up the print. So that's for you guys who switch brands a lot. I think that you keep that in mind. I just should try to avoid switching brands. I've been trying to just printing these cats and stuff like that with the PLA from Nissan, so I get rid of it. Like kind of use up all the filament, and then gonna go back to filament.ca because that's my go-to filament, and it works fine. So um, and that's it. I'm not gonna mumble on and on about filaments, but I've been happy with them, and I think you will too. So anyway, I'll catch up with you guys later. I'll try to finish up the belt holder, belt clamps, and then test the XY joiners, run the belts, turn the motors by hand, make sure that we got rid of the racking issue. And once I do that, I'll start to wire it up. So I could do that from Pontiface. Um, Once I finish probably early next week, the 20 millimeter joiner, um, I'll just do some preliminary sketches today to make sure that see if I can just retrofit that hole to be 20 millimeter. That only adds what 4 millimeters aside. So I think there's enough room there for 4 millimeter aside. So if that's the case, then I just have to make it a little bit longer and move it like 4 or 5 millimeters over and make the hole bigger. So if that's what I need to do, that's simple. Actually, I might have to make it taller too because the way it has to be taller as well. So I'll have an answer for you, end of today or tomorrow. On the ETA on the 20 millimeter joiner. I know you want to go with 20 millimeter, so I'll work on that. Um, next thing on the list is going to be 20 millimeter joiner. After the belt holder and the belt clamps, for the 12 millimeter, the next one is going to be 20 millimeter joiner, then 20 millimeter belt holder, and they use the same belt clamp, so we should be okay. So um, it's just that that piece has to be bigger and smaller, so we could go with that. That's a simple fix. It's the joiner is the way it's gonna take a little bit more thinking about it. So that's the queue. That's the work queue is working through the 12 millimeter version, then the 20 millimeter, then getting it running. So everything should be falling into place next week. Okay. All right. I'll see you guys Wednesday, I guess, for the Wednesday stream. See ya.